girls develop a coping mechanism called dissociation. They learn to be in a situation, for example, when they're being sexually assaulted or raped, and they learn to kind of pretend that they're a spectator, watching the situation, that they're an observer and they're not actually involved in what's going on. And that's a coping skill.
It's reported that when Castro thought he had control of the women, he moved them out of the basement and into different parts of the house.
He no longer has to physically control them and intimidate them because he's already socialized them into accepting his absolute and total control over them psychologically.
He moved them up into separate rooms with little slots in the room so he could put in food and put in water. He also punished these girls, and the way he punished them was if they disobeyed, if they acted out, he wouldn't feed them, so you don't get any food.
Amazingly, Castro felt he had such control over the women he had guests at the home. One of these was Ricky Sanchez, who was in a band with Castro and went to his house every week to play music.
I used to go there and I used to cook there. You know, being a Latino person, being from Puerto Rico, we like rice and beans, okay? I used to cook rice and beans. I used to go there and I used to cook there. You know, being a Latino person, being from Puerto Rico.
He'd lock them upstairs, he'd have music playing, and he threatened them. You make a sound when I have people here, I will kill you when they leave. I mean, these women were intimidated and controlled, mind, body, and soul.
However, once, when Ricky went there for band practice, he did hear some strange noises, but Castro had a ready-made excuse.
And I noticed there's some like a boom, boom in the walls, right in the walls. When he came back, I asked him, Ariel, what is these noises are? And then I started laughing, you know, because I took it as a joke. I had no idea what was going on. So, well, I have some dogs in the second level, you know, in the upstairs. But again, he came, he took the radio, he cranked it all the way up. Any conversation you have, it was hard for you to hear him unless you be screaming, talking loud, because the music, it was always loud. He was the best actor I ever met or seen in my life.
Castro's next-door neighbor, Storm, noticed that his behavior was strange over the years.
In late April last year, the weather was sort of warm. Me and my family had a cookout. So I just made myself a little fire pit, you know. No bother, no nothing. And I'm just sitting there. My dog comes out behind me. He looks up and he starts growling. Then I look up, it's Ariel. He looked down at me and I said, "Can I help you?" He goes, "You can't have that fire there like that, man." The creepiness. I don't know how long he was up there watching me. I don't know, you confronting your neighbor behind you by, you know, watching them from a roof at night on your garage, I don't think, you know, I'm gonna be friends with you.
The letter that was reportedly found at Ariel Castro's house can give further insight into his mind.
In that letter, he says things like, "I'm a sexual predator." He says, "I'm sick. I've got something going on in my head and I don't know. I need help."
He's got an insight that he's a sexual predator, but he still goes on to sexually predate. And also what that phrase does is it takes responsibility away from him. I need help. So he's actually saying, if you don't give me the help, then of course I'm going to behave as I'm behaving.
He also said that if he died, he was going to leave his money, his property, everything he owned to those three ladies.
As if he can simply wipe away the 10 years of physical, sexual, and psychological torture by giving them a few $1,000s. I mean, it is absurd.
Year after year, it seems the women's relationships grew, and it appears their shared experience in this nightmare strengthened the bond between them.
These girls, Gina, Amanda, and Michelle, were really a family over those years. They came together very, very close because my sources tell me when he punished Michelle, Gina, and Amanda would sneak her food to keep her alive. When Amanda was punished, Michelle and Gina would sneak her food.
We do know they watch TV because Amanda would talk about how she saw the newscast talking about her disappearance.
Michelle's a totally different story. She didn't get a lot of press coverage. And I understand that in the house, that bothered her. You'd always hear, Amanda Berry's missing, Gina DeJesus is missing. But you wouldn't hear that Michelle Knight was missing. And that was an emotional struggle for her inside that house.
I think Michelle became the unwanted one. I think he developed a very negative attitude towards her, and I think she became an abuse object, and I think Amanda became, more of a pleasurable relationship for him.
The different attitude Ariel reportedly had towards Amanda and Michelle is demonstrated by the fact that he impregnated both women whilst in captivity, but allowed Amanda to keep the baby, whereas he forced Michelle to miscarry.
When Amanda Berry gave birth to her daughter, that he actually insisted that Michelle Knight not just deliver the baby, but give it mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to make sure that it survived. And yet it completely flies in the face to the opposite side, the different dark face of Ariel Castro, based on Michelle Knight's allegations that he impregnated her at least 5 times and then starved her for up to 2 weeks and beat her in the stomach and abdomen to force her to miscarry those pregnancies.
In 2006, Amanda gave birth in the house to a baby girl, with Michelle apparently being forced to deliver her in a small paddling pool with no medical assistance.
Most births are quite messy, quite bloody, quite dramatic. And imagine if you had nothing. No towels, no sheets, nothing to help you.
3 lives were at stake when Amanda gave birth to that baby. Apparently, one of the girls delivered the baby without any medical experience or training, and also basically with a figurative shotgun to her head. She was told, if this baby doesn't come out alive and you don't deliver this baby, a healthy baby, then you will get killed.